I often get asked about nerve pressure or subluxation, and what exactly is that? Well, first of all, I want to give credit where it's due. Dr. Patrick Gentempo is the one who came up with this metaphor, so a shout out to him. First of all, whenever we're dealing with nerve pressure, that is basically your body's defense mechanism for dealing with stress. It's very similar to the circuit breaker system of your house and the electrical system. So what happens is whenever in your kitchen too many appliances are all on at the same time, that electricity overloads the system. It is too much stress and it flips your circuit breaker. Now the reason it does that is a good thing. It shuts down that kitchen so it doesn't burn down the rest of your house. It saves the house at the expense of the kitchen. Now your body's the same way. When a certain area of the body is under such extreme stress, your body forms a subluxation. It shuts down, it creates nerve pressure to de-stress, to basically shut down that particular area so to save the rest of the body. It's a defense mechanism. Now, to understand how all this works, we actually need to go into the general adaptation potential here. So basically, your body has a potential for dealing with stress, and it's basically in the gap between these two lines. The bottom of the gap is your bottoming out, which is essentially death. And then the top is at the maximum level you can get to before you trip one of these wires, before you create subluxation. Now, throughout your entire day, you have stressors. It goes up and down all around. And for the most part, we should be able to live within the gap and not create any tripping of the wires, not create any subluxations. But here's where the problem lies. When we start to get into higher levels of stress, now this can be caused by a major trauma. You could have a car accident. You could have a major fall. You could get injured in some way. And then that is creating excess stress that is causing you to go above the potential. You could get exposed to some really toxic environments. You could be going through a lot of stress at work, a sick loved one, and that is causing you to rise above these levels. Now, as long as you only spike up but you come right back down, for the most part, we don't see too many problems. The real problem is when all of this stress builds up and now you're starting to live above these lines. And this is where your general adaptation begins to fall. And what your body does is it says, okay, that's it. We're shutting down. And what it does is it lowers your general adaptive potential. So now, here that you have a lower adaptive potential, are you going to be making better health choices or worse health choices? Probably worse. You're not getting the sleep that you need. You may even go on a prescription medication, and now you have that toxicity to deal with. So then we start to see this spiraling down, and now we've lowered your gap even further. So now what's happened is things that you used to be able to handle before are now causing you to trigger, are causing you to go into subluxation, are causing nerve pressure, which that then causes a downward spiral, less sleep, less adaptation, maybe even bad food choices now, more drugs, and then we get to here, and then that's spiraling down to here. So this is where we find people who said, gosh, I used to be able to play basketball with my kids, but now that seems to completely throw me off. I can't even function after that. We run into people who say, wow, I used to be able to just play a round of golf, and now I can't do that anymore without having problems. When we start to get to here, they're like, I can't sleep without waking up sore. See, this is what's happening. We're in this spiraling general adaptation potential to where you just have no margin for error anymore. And it will continue to spiral and spiral until your adaptation potential is basically none and you get to the point of death. Now, on the positive side, what also can happen is you come in and you start making better health choices. You get adjusted. So where you were before, now you can reverse it and re-spiral up, and you have greater potential. You can do things again. And then we get adjusted and we're eating right and we're making better choices and we're spiraling up. And then we're spiraling up. We keep getting adjusted. We keep raising the gap. Now, the wonderful thing about our body versus the electrical system in your house, our bodies can learn. our bodies continue to metabolize and to understand and create new levels of gaps. So what happens is people who, this was their former best level, but as they're making better choices, better foods, getting adjusted, neurologically in alignment, they get up to these levels and they create new, higher gaps in their life. So one of the things that I also like to explain is, why do you need to come in and get adjusted multiple times? Well, let me explain that to you right here. So when we are dealing where you are in a situation like this, where your gap is all the way down here, so we adjust you and now you're able to get up to here. But then, see how we're still spiking, we're still creating subluxation. Normal everyday activities are still causing you to trip your wires. See, and then it's going to spiral right back down. So what we do is we get you adjusted, raise that adaptation level, and before you have a chance to flip the switch again, before you have a chance to hit the circuit breaker, we get you adjusted again and raise it again. Get you adjusted again, raise it again, get you adjusted, raise it again, until the point where we can get where your normal everyday life isn't tripping your wires, isn't flipping the switch, isn't causing subluxation. Then we get into the great part. We get into where we keep raising your gap into these higher and higher levels. And this, my friends, this is where you see the 80-year-olds who are still running marathons. This is where you are seeing the octogenarians who are out on the mission fields and serving and still doing fantastic and outrunning the youngins. See, their gap, their general adaptation potential is so high that they can do that. It's not aging, it's your gap.